Hi everyone and welcome back to Sash Fabrics. Jessica again here today, and today we are going to be doing a scrap busting project. We are going to make a freeze pop holder. So the one I'm making it to fit today is the shorter Otter Pop brand freeze pops. However, you could make these wider, you can make them longer. I tend to buy the shorter size just so that my kids can have them more spread out through the day instead of having them all at once. So you need an Otter Pop to measure. For these Otter Pops, I will show you what size I used, but increase if needed. You will need a sewing machine. You can do these by hand if you wish, but a sewing machine is super quick. You need 2 scraps of fleece. This is just polyester fleece like you buy at Joann's. And I cut my pieces 2 1/4 inches by 5 inches. Again, make it wider if you're getting the fatter Otter Pops or the off-brand ones. Make it longer if you feel like you need it longer. I generally find 5 inches long enough for their hands to hold. You also need 2 scraps the same size, 5 inches by 2 1/4 inches. And you will need a pair of pinking shears, and you're going to see why you need these in the end. And then this one is optional. I like to use it because, as we see by my little scraps, they like to roll for the knit. So I'm going to be using basting spray. This happens to be the brand I like the most, and it's Taylor-based quilt basting spray, but you can use any basting spray you have. You could even use Heat and Bond or Heat and Bond Light if you had that handy. Okay, here we go. So this next step is to use spray adhesive if you desire to put your knit scraps on top of your fleece. So I'm going to pull it out of frame to spray it since I don't want to get it on my table. I like to spray it over a garbage can or a piece of paper. And I'm just going to lightly coat it. There's not a ton on here. And then kind of line up your bottom and unroll your knit. At this point, if you have a really rolly piece like I have at the top, you can always trim that off a little bit if you desire. So there's one of my pieces adhered together. I'm going to do the same thing for the next piece. I always get some on my hands, so I end up having to wash my hands, but that's okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Unroll your bottom. This particular piece is just a little more rolly. Line up the bottom with it. And unroll. This one's being a little bit more fidgety. I think that's the thing with crafting, is there's always something fidgety. So you don't really have to worry about the edges being totally lined up because those pinking shears will come in handy for that. If you're having problems like I am with this rolling as much as it is, you could always run it through the machine to top stitch it, but I'm not going to. Okay, so we now have 2 pieces. Now this is super simple to put together. All we're going to do is put them wrong sides together like so. And then you're going to get clips or pins. If you feel comfortable sewing without them, you can. I like to throw one on each side, and then the bottom you're going to be sewing, so throw one on the bottom and one on the other side, and this will just help keep it in place as you're sewing it. Okay, now we are ready to sew. So we're going to sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. One of my previous tricks that we shared via a picture on the business page was to use tape to mark your seam allowances. So I have a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch marked on here so that I can do it as needed. And I also have a really skinny seam allowance here for some when I do zigzags. But we are going to take, and you're going to start with the top of your, if it's a directional print, the top up here. So you always start with your top up. I'm just doing this with black thread because it's a doodle print. I think that'll be very cute. And we're just going to do a straight stitch. And you don't want it to be a super, got a fuzz on there. You don't want it to be a super long stitch, but you also don't want it to be a super short stitch. So put it somewhere in the middle as a straight stitch. Go forward, back stitch. I like to do 3 or 4 stitches personally, but it's all personal preference. And then as you get to your clips, just pull them out. Sew down until you're about a 1/4 inch from the edge. And turn. Another hint with most sewing machine pressure feet is that they're already a 1/4 inch. So I'm a little too far there, so I'm just going to hand wheel back. Okay, turn when you're 1/4 inch from the edge. And I am a thread trimmer, so I tend to always trim my threads as I get to them. And then go for it again to the end. This is the 3rd edge. Now, knit fabric sometimes stretches, so I'm known to lift my foot for a second. So just off the edge, and then back stitch another 4 or 5 stitches, and sew off the edge. Trim your thread. Okay, so now we have that done, and now I'm going to zoom you in a little closer so that you guys can see me finish it off. Okay, everyone, so at this point, we're going to take our pinking shears. These ones aren't super sharp, so I'm expecting to have a little issues cutting, so I definitely recommend a sharp pair. And all we're going to do is the 3 sides that we sewed, we're just going to trim it off. When you have thick layers like this, you may have to do smaller cuts. And I'm kind of picky about my pinking shears, so I make sure to line them up as I go. Of course, if you don't have pinking shears, you can just do a straight edge. I just like that this makes the edges look purposeful instead of just being a square sewn together. So again, I'm at the bottom and cut. Okay, and then one more side. These pinking shears are not impressed at the 4 layers. If you have a sharper pair, I definitely recommend it. And there we go. We are done with the freeze pop holder. So this side is Dumbledore, this side is Gryffindor. See a little bit of the envelope, see a little of her. Okay, and then you're just going to take and slide your freeze pop in. And you're ready to go. You don't have cold hands this way. The freeze pop doesn't melt as fast. That's one of the things my kids hate, is that the freeze pops will melt really, really fast. So there we go. All done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to click that subscribe button down below to get more great videos. I'm going to be uploading a lot more often now. We're aiming for once a week, and I have a lot of great ideas, including tutorials, tips, and more. You guys will love it. So make sure to click that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment with something you'd like to see in the future, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.